they starting to, how to tell you, to take revenge, but there were no people on the street, so they were right away, with the tank, destroying houses, because they knew people are, in hiding in houses, so they were trying to take revenge right away, and they were in most cruel way. They were putting bombs, one house after the other.
On May 16, 1943, the Warsaw Ghetto officially ended. SS leader Jürgen Stroop ordered the total destruction of the Jewish quarter. Using tanks and fire, the Nazi battalion forced the Jewish fighters out of their bunkers.
Almost always, the Jews then emerged from their hiding places and bunkers. Not rarely, the Jews stayed in the burning houses until the heat and fear of being burned to death caused them to jump from the upper floors after they had thrown mattresses and other upholstered objects from the burning houses to the street. With broken bones, they would then try to crawl across the street into buildings which were not yet or only partially in flames. Often, too, Jews changed their hiding places during the night by shifting into the ruins of buildings already burned out and taking refuge there until they were found by one of the shock troop units. Jürgen Stroop, 1943.
And out of the blue sky, one afternoon, the SS came in and just opened up the wall. They knew exactly where it was at. And before I turned around, there was an SS man standing here with a machine gun like this, and raus, raus. That was the end.
Mordecai Anielewicz was born in Wyszków, Poland in the year 1919. He was raised in a Jewish working-class family and attended Hebrew school.
Mordecai's advocacy for Jewish self-defense began at a young age. As a boy, he was a member of Beitar, a militant Zionist youth organization. After finishing secondary school, Mordecai joined another Zionist movement, HaShomer HaTzair.
By 1940, Mordecai had distinguished himself as a skilled leader. His experience with the HaTzair laid the foundation for his work in heading the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising.
When Germany invaded Poland, Mordecai escaped the country in order to open a route for young Jews to emigrate to Palestine. However, he was arrested by the Soviet Union while trying to cross the Romanian border. He was eventually released and ventured to the Vilna Ghetto in Lithuania. Mordecai attempted to convince the many Jewish refugees there that had gathered to return to Poland to fight German rule.
In January 1940, Mordecai returned to Warsaw. He set up an underground newspaper as well as many other organized activities. By mid-1941, Mordecai began developing the various underground youth movements of Warsaw into a unified armed resistance, as well as creating self-defense organizations.
In the summer of 1942, Mordecai was in western Poland on a covert mission to spread anti-Nazi political ideas. During this time, the SS deported 265,000 Jews from the Warsaw Ghetto to the extermination camp of Treblinka. Mordecai returned to find only 60,000 Jews remaining in the ghetto.
Mordecai attempted to convince the ghetto's elders to use armed resistance to defend against the next deportation. The elders were reluctant as they feared confrontation would provoke a massive German retaliation and the destruction of the entire ghetto. Mordecai was supported by many young activists and won the argument. On October 15th, the decision was made to create a joint fighting organization. It was called the ZOB. Most of the underground resistance groups joined the ZOB without reservation. Mordecai was naturally appointed leader. He immediately began the construction of bunkers and the acquisition of weapons. On January 18th, the Germans launched the second deportation by surprise. The ZOB had no time to communicate. However, they still managed to meet the Germans with force. Mordecai led a group armed with pistols and grenades in street battles against the Germans. The fighting lasted about 4 days, resulting in the withdrawal of the German forces. Most of the Jewish fighters were killed, though Mordecai survived. They fought valiantly, however, as there were 50 German casualties. This was the first time in history Germans had been harmed in the Warsaw Ghetto. The ZOB realized the halt in the Nazis' deportation effort was only a temporary victory. They quickly began preparing for the second German offensive. For 2 months, the Germans tried to persuade the Jews to go peacefully to Treblinka. Meanwhile, Mordecai oversaw the construction of more intricate bunkers for shelter. These bunkers contained food, medicine, electricity, and even a sewage system.
Almost every Jew in the area found an address for himself and his dear ones in one of the underground shelters. It is no exaggeration to state that the network of cells and tunnels resembled a subterranean Jewish city. Israel Gutman, The Jews of Warsaw, page 354.
During this time, the ZOB also began coordinating their efforts with the Jewish Military Union. On the eve of Passover, April 19th, the Germans launched an attempt to liquidate the entire ghetto. The Jewish resistance was prepared, and initially had the upper hand against 2,000 German troops and tanks. The Jews had decided to fight to the last man, and the Germans were surprised by their ferocity. Mordecai commanded the ZOB and fought side by side with the Jewish Military Union. Street fighting continued for many days. Once the Germans realized that they would not be able to deport the remaining Jews, they began to set fire to the ghetto. Most of the Jewish resistance took refuge in their underground bunkers. Here they continued their attacks on the German forces. Mordecai and the ZOB leadership were in a bunker on 29 Mila Street. For a month, Jewish fighters leapt from bunker to bunker to escape German troops and the fire. Methodically, German troops searched for bunkers and gassed them. Mordecai and his staff were forced to escape their bunker and relocated to another bunker on 18 Mila Street. It was there on May 8, 1943, that Mordecai and most of the remaining ZOB were killed. Despite the death of their leadership, the resistance continued to fight until May 16th. The destruction of the Great Synagogue ordered by Jürgen Stroop proclaimed the symbolic ending of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. Today, Mordecai is remembered across the world, immortalized in various monuments, including statues in Poland. There is also a kibbutz in Israel, Yad Mordecai, which is named after him. These tributes recognize Mordecai's heroism and leadership, which shined even in the face of certain death at the hands of an unstoppable enemy. Unfortunately, the hate that fueled that enemy is still prevalent today, especially in Europe. Surveys conducted by the Anti-Defamation League in 2014 show that over half of Poland's adult population believes that Jews have too much control over the world's media and finance, and 45% believe that Jews don't care about anyone but themselves. These troublesome viewpoints are not specific to Poland, though. All throughout Europe, anti-Semitism is back on the rise, as is evident in the recent terrorist attacks in Paris, Copenhagen, and Brussels. The world should draw upon the courage of Mordecai and Niblowitz and fight this hatred and bigotry, lest we allow history to repeat itself.